So picture the scene. I came downstairs this morning and Lady was on the sofa. Not her sofa, my sofa, looking at me with the specific expression of a dog who has decided that ownership is a social construct and she has opted out of it. My son had come down earlier and let her out to play with. The two of the dogs were still in their crates, so she was clearly feeling a little bit smug. I said, Lady, that's not your sofa. She blinked. I went to make the coffee. She'd won. She always wins. She's a Belgian Malinois and she's been running this household since the day she arrived. And frankly, I suppose the sooner I accept it, the better for everyone. The point is this. Lady doesn't negotiate. She just decides what she wants, positions herself accordingly, and waits with the complete confidence that just a Belgian Mal could have for the situation to resolve in her favour. This, my friends, is episode 100. Oh my God. And the lady's approach to the sofa is, I would argue, the most effective leadership model I've encountered in the year of making this podcast. So let us talk about that and about what it is going to take for you to bring that same unapologetic energy to the rooms that matter. You've done the thinking on Monday, you've done the science on Wednesday, and today, as always, Friday is about doing something with it. Because a head full of good ideas and a calendar that's not changed is not going to help you get on in your career, is it? What you need is action. And that is where we're going today. Welcome back to Unshakable Her, helping ambitious women who are constantly second-guessing themselves to build the daily habits that compound into unshakable confidence. I'm Caroline Esterson and I'm in your corner. Today it's Friday. We've heard the story in Monday's episode and we've understood the science of what's holding us back from Wednesday. Now we're closing the week with a song that holds everything we've covered. So you can carry the week's confidence tips with you when the podcast ends. Plus 3 quickfire career moves, small enough to use before Monday morning and sharp enough to make a 2mm difference to edge you towards that promotion. Because Unshakable isn't built in a moment, it's built in the moves you make between Mondays. Let's go. So here is what you're leaving with today. 1, of course, your song reveal. 3 clues first. They're going to make complete sense when the penny drops. 2, 3 moves, specific, doable, actionable immediately, not a personality transplant. 3 little places to put the things you now know. And 3, you're going to leave this trilogy knowing the difference between the career you've been building and the career that's possible. And knowing is where everything starts. Let's go. So Friday, episode 100. I can't quite believe it. What started off as a little project has really built momentum and I'm loving it. I hope you're enjoying it too. And if you've been here since the beginning, genuinely thank you so much. You've been with me through the kitchen recordings, through the evolving theme tune, through approximately 47 episodes where one of the dogs was audible somewhere in the background. That's not changed, really. I've just got someone much better than me to edit this for you now. V, thank you. You are an absolute star. I couldn't do it without you. And if this is your first episode, well, welcome. You've landed on a significant one. Either the algorithm knows you or you have excellent instincts. Either way, stay with me. This week has been about influence, about the gap between being liked and being followed, about the calendar as the enemy of informal connection and therefore the enemy of the kind of leadership that gets you promoted. Monday we met Rachel, the fixer, the expert, the reliable one, the people pleaser, all 4 of them in one brilliant career. Rachel, who spent 18 years being brilliant and trusted and warm and somehow invisible to the people who could have changed her trajectory. And about a Thursday evening on a motorway when I was 27 and nearly made the worst decision of my career by driving away. So today we bring it home. 3 moves, a song I didn't expect to choose and absolutely love. What would Caro do that's been sitting in my inbox and making me think all week? Are you ready? Let's start this episode properly with your song clues. Pay attention now. Clue 1. This song is about a journey that is harder than it looks from the outside. Clue 2. The film from which this song comes from is one I used to love watching with my daughter. I think I've seen it 27 times, if not more. The person singing this song is the star of the film, and she encounters setbacks with moments where it could be entirely reasonable to just stop. She doesn't stop. Instead, she decided the journey is actually the whole point. And clue 3. The star and the singer has two very distinct personas that keep coming into conflict. The homestead girl and the star. And there's a real tension between the two. Hold that, your reveal is coming. What would Caro do? Sometimes you don't need permission, you just need better advice. So what would Caro do? And this week's message is from a listener who signed off as still here, but only just. She writes, I've been passed over for promotion numerous times. The feedback has always been positive, that I'm good at relationships, trusted and reliable. I don't understand why that isn't enough, and I'm starting to wonder if I should leave. But I'm also starting to wonder if I am the problem. Am I? Right, first things first, you are not the problem, but you're going to have to change something. And those two things can both be true at the same time. Here's what I noticed in your message. You've been collecting feedback that describes your warmth and your reliability, and you've been watching others get the roles that you want. And from that, you've drawn the conclusion that the answer is either to leave or to somehow become someone you're not. I don't think that those are binary choices. The answer is not about being louder. It's not got anything to do with politics, and it's not about performing a version of yourself that feels exhausting and inauthentic, that will make you fall apart under pressure. The answer is about amplifying your weight, the kind that sits alongside warmth rather than replacing it. So here's what I'd do. I'd stop optimizing for feedback that says trusted and reliable. Not because these things aren't valuable, they really are, but because you've clearly already achieved them and they're not what's missing. What's missing is the evidence that you can change things, not deliver things, change them. The feedback that you're not receiving is, she identified this before it became a crisis, or she influenced the direction of this before anyone formally asked her to, or even, she's the reason this looks the way that it does. Now, I'm guessing you've probably got the evidence to that. You've just not named it as such. You've called it doing your job. Start calling it something else, specifically, out loud, and with the people who make decisions. Okay? And then look at your calendar, find the margins, create them if they're not there. Because the conversations that change how people see you are almost never on the agenda, as we've talked about all week. They're in the 5 minutes before, in the coffee queue, or over a sandwich at lunch. You are not the problem. You are just speaking a language the promotion decisions is not listening for. And having those conversations in the wrong places. Learn the language, find the margins, keep your warmth as well. It really isn't either or. So moving on to the song, what did you sum up from the song clues? Because this week, the song is The Climb by Miley Cyrus. I know, stay with me. Oh, I loved that film. We watched it over and over. You know, who doesn't love a bit of cheese, right? Now, I've heard every version of the cynical responses to this, and I want to preemptively address it. The song doesn't care what you think of who sang it or in what context. It is right for this week. It's right for Rachel, for my motorway story, and for every woman who has ever been doing the work and watched the summit move and wondering whether any of it is worth it. It is worth it. That is what the song knows, not because the destination is guaranteed, because of the person you become on the way up. And that's the whole point. The journey, the climb is the point. Rachel is on the climb. She's been on it for 18 years. On Wednesday, she got a better pair of shoes to help her on the uneven terrain that she's navigating. And today she gets a better map to help her. Listen to it this week with those ears. It'll land differently, I promise you. 3 little moves to make you unshakable. Small enough to start Monday, sharp enough to change everything. So on to action. 3 moves. Let us go. Move 1. Engineer just one margin this week. The calendar ate all your influence, so take it back. This week, I want you to engineer one informal moment, one conversation that's not on an agenda with one person who matters to your leadership or your promotional prospects in a setting that's not a structured meeting. Please don't make it a big thing. It doesn't need to be a lunch that requires a diary invite 3 weeks out. Just think about where you can nab them for 5 minutes. Maybe it is early on a meeting when the other person's already there. The message that is not about the work, the suggestion of a copy that has no formal purpose except the conversation itself. Because here is what I know from the neuroscience. The connection your brain builds in that informal moment is so much stickier and more durable than anything that happens in the formal one. And the relationship that grows from it is the kind of relationship that means someone thinks of you in rooms that you're not in. And here's what this does for your imposter syndrome. The imposter thrives in formal settings, in the agenda, in the evaluation, the sense that you're being assessed. Informal settings disarm it. It's much harder to feel like a fraud in a coffee queue than in a meeting room. Start there. Build from there. And every significant professional relationship I've ever built has had an informal moment somewhere near the beginning, a conversation that was not about the work, that moment of human contact that wasn't optimized or timed. You just can't replicate that on a Teams call, but you can create the conditions for it almost anywhere else. One margin this week on purpose. Move 2. Find the need underneath the ask. This is Rachel's question, the one that changed everything. This week, in one interaction with one person, I want you to stop at the moment someone asks you for something and ask yourself silently, what do they actually need here? Not what they asked for, what do they need? And if it isn't clear, check in with them to make sure your assumptions are on target by asking, what do you need from me with this to make it a success? Someone asks for a report. Maybe they need it to look credible in front of their director. Someone asks you to sort a team issue. Maybe they just need the noise to stop so they can focus on what is actually keeping them awake at night. Someone asks for your input on a proposal. Maybe they need to know whether they're about to walk into a room and embarrass themselves. When you answer the real need, not just the surface ask, you stop being someone people like and start being someone people can't do without. That is influence, and it's available to you in every interaction, formal or informal, calendar or corridor. The moment you start solving for what people actually need rather than what they ask for, you discover that your instincts are sharper than you thought. That right there is leadership territory that you can absolutely lean into. Remember, Rachel shifted from being liked to being needed by changing one question. Invisible from the outside, yet enormous from the inside. You can make the same shift in one conversation this week. So one interaction, there's one silent question underneath the ask. Move 3. Turn the car around. This is the most personal move I've ever put in this segment, and it is the simplest. This week, is there something you've been driving away from? Maybe a conversation you've been avoiding? A room you've taught yourself out of walking back into? Maybe a moment where you felt the pull? Go back, say the thing, make it honest, and choose the motorway instead. I'm not asking you to be reckless or to make a scene or burn a relationship. I'm asking you to notice the moment when you're about to drive away from something important and to consider going back. Because here's the thing about the fixer, the expert, the reliable one, or the people pleaser. The thing they all have in common, they're brilliant at showing up for other people's problems. And they are all to varying degrees, very good at driving away from their own. The fixer resolves everyone else's crisis and avoids the conversation about her own career trajectory. The expert answers everyone else's questions and never asks her own. The reliable one delivers for everyone else and never asks what anyone is delivering for her. And the people pleaser makes everyone else comfortable and drives away from every interaction where she might make someone uncomfortable by telling the truth. Turning the car around is the move that cuts across all four. It's the decision to go back, to say the thing, to be the person who shows up for the difficult moments rather than just for the easy ones. Find yours. This week, go back. Right. So the 3 moves: engineer one margin, find the need underneath the ask, and turn the car around. Here's what will happen when you do all 3. Your calendar stops being your enemy, not because you fixed it, you probably can't, but because you stopped waiting for it to create the conditions for influence and started creating them for yourself in the margins. Your warmth stops being passive and starts to pick up weight and direction, the specific intentional energy of someone who understands what the people around her actually need and meets them there. That's not just about warmth anymore. It's about leadership. And the promotion conversation stops being about whether they like you. They do, they always did. And starts being about whether they can imagine moving forward without you, which they can't, because you made yourself necessary. Quietly, deliberately, 1 question and 1 turned around car at a time. That is your 2mm difference. 3 moves this week. So let us close down this episode properly. Episode 100. Lady, frankly, is still on the sofa. I've decided just to let her have it. Frankly, she was always going to have it, so why put up the fight? I promised you your song, the climb, step by step by step. The summit will keep moving. And the work, the climb, well, that's the point. That's Rachel's story. That's my telecoms contract story. And I suspect if you've been honest with yourself this week about the margins and the archetypes and the conversations you've been driving away from, it's possibly yours too. You are on the climb. You've been on it for a while, and today you just got a better map. I promised you 3 moves. You have them. They're not comfortable, but comfort isn't what we're here for. We're here to help build something that lasts. Something that works even when the calendar is full and the margins have gone and the summit has moved again. Something nobody can shake. And I promised you to leave knowing the difference between the career you've been building and the career that is possible. Do you? Because if there is a flicker, a small, honest, slightly uncomfortable flicker of recognition that you've been warm when you could have been useful, liked when you could have been necessary, or maybe even driving away when you could have been going back, well, that flicker is the beginning of everything. So let's look forward to next week. We've been talking about influence, about what it is, where it lives, and how the calendar stole it. But here's the thing that keeps coming back to me. The skill that makes influence possible, the one underneath all the frameworks, all the questions, and those deliberate margin engineering, is the ability to actually hear what someone is telling you. Not the words, what they're telling you. Most of us aren't doing that. Most of us, most of the time, are composing our reply before the other person has even finished their sentence, processing for content rather than for meaning. And we've got so good at filling the silence with our own responses that we've forgotten what it sounds like when someone is actually trying to tell us something. Next week, we're going to talk about that, about what happens when you genuinely hear someone in a way that they've not been heard for a long time, and about how that single skill, more than any other framework or strategy, is what separates the people who are good from the people who are extraordinary. So Monday, we meet someone who thought she was an excellent communicator, but she hadn't really listened to anyone in 3 years. Hope you like it. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday. So that's it from me this week. Before you go, if something this week made you nod, laugh, or think, finally someone said it, leave a rating wherever you're listening. Just a couple of taps, that's all it takes. And it helps other women just like you who are spiraling and searching for help to find this show. I'm Caroline Esterson. You came here for career advice, but what you're really building, week by week, move by move, is someone no one can shake. See you Monday.